Good morning, everybody. It's Karen, and happy Live Wednesday. Today is our live interview series day, and I have Nancy with Trilogy Yarns here with me. But before we get started, I want to make sure everybody is popping in. I'm starting to see people drop in. First of all, let's see who's here. I see Linda, Brat's mom, is here with Daisy, and thank you for mentioning to smash the like button. Make sure everybody, if you're here and you'd love to watch it or you love this video, make sure you hit that like button. Renee is here. Good morning. Good morning. It's good to see you. I see a few more people popping in. Nobody's in the chat yet. Here we go. Good morning, Liz. It's good to see you. So glad you're here. I'm really excited to bring Nancy on. We were just chatting a little bit. I just want to let you guys know that we're going to go ahead and I'm going to bring her on in here in just a minute. But I want to just let you guys know that we're going to chat for a while. I'm going to ask her some questions. If you have questions for her, make sure you type the Q, a space, and the question, and I will scoop those up. I'm going to keep an eye on the queue to make sure that we answer questions if they come up in the middle of our interview, but I'm going to save quite a few of them probably for the end. So just so you guys know, so I'm going to, with no further ado, I'm going to bring Nancy on screen with me, and we'll start our interview. Oh, I just saw another person pop in. Good morning, Stephanie. Good to see you. Okay, I'm going to bring Nancy on. So good morning, Nancy. Good to see you.
Good morning, Karen and everybody.
So we'll have more people popping in, I'm sure. So I just want to start with just why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, where you live, that kind of thing, and then we'll talk about, I have a few other questions that'll come off that too.
So sure, go ahead. I'm Nancy, the owner and dyer behind Trilogy Yarns. I live in the Pacific Northwest, Spokane, Washington, which is only about 2.5 hours from Karen. So even though we're close, she has yet to come by my house for coffee.
I need to.
Her daughter lives just down the road from me. So
like 5 minutes.
Hold her accountable that she stops by for coffee someday.
Yes.
And just kind of a brief history. I have been knitting. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I'm going to say for well over 50 decades. You guys do the math. Started knitting, and then in my 20s, started crocheting. My grandmother was a knitter, and we used to get together for slideshows in the evenings on Sunday evenings. And I could always hear her in the background with the needles clicking. And it was such a comforting sound. So of course, I had to do that. Have always been a real crafty person. Always, everything sewed my own clothes since I probably was in middle school and up. And then in my 20s, I wanted to learn to crochet. So I learned to crochet in my 20s. I do both, but knitting is my first love. But I do like crochet because it does go faster.
Yes.
And then as far as family goes, I have kind of an interesting, I had a daughter who unfortunately passed away when she was 27, and she had 3 little girls, 4, 5, and 7 at the time. So at the age of 40, and I was a single at that time, I became a single parent of 3 little kids. Let me tell you, there's a reason women past their 40s shouldn't have kids. I was exhausted working full time, all of a sudden a parent, the noise and everything. But I was very fortunate, and I met a nice young man. Well, he wasn't young, met a nice man who loved me and loved the girls, and we married, and it was great for 10 years. And then he unfortunately passed away to cancer. So I finished raising them on my own. I have successfully gotten them all out of the house. So that being said, knitting and crocheting has been my lifeline. It has helped me through many a bad time. So that's kind of my history, probably more than you wanted to know, but
No, well, that's great. No, and actually, I was thinking as you were talking, you have a very similar background in crafting that I do, because I was a young girl. My grandmother crocheted, and just when I learned, but she taught me all the crafts. I embroidered, I sewed my clothes, I did all that too. So that's kind of interesting to hear that we have a similar background, all that. But crochet, I didn't learn to knit till I was in my 30s. Because everybody threw and I was a crocheter first. So I'm a picker.
right.
So nobody knew how to do that. And so until I was in my 30s, I didn't learn. But
yeah, and I'm a thrower. I'm busily working away. I'm the type that if I'm sitting, I like to be knitting.
Yeah, me too. I always have a project with me everywhere I go. So I just can't do it when I'm doing these interviews or doing these lives for some reason. I just can't.
Well, you're busy watching the screen and stuff.
Yeah, that too.
I'm just kind of blank in the sidecar.
So when and why did you start dyeing yarn?
So I started dyeing. So going back to when my husband was ill, he was a general contractor. And when he got too ill, he had a very rare form of a bone marrow cancer. And was unable to work anymore. And he used to sit and watch me knit, and he'd say, I want you to teach me to knit. So I taught him to knit, and then he and I thought how fun it would be to start dabbling with dyeing yarns. So we did that for maybe 3 months, and we had it was great. It was so much fun, but life happens, and we put that to the side. So after he passed away, we had to be out of town for about 6 months while he was undergoing his bone marrow transplant and stuff. And I came back to town, and I still had 3 kids that were still in high school, 3 granddaughters. And I thought, oh my gosh, now I have to get a job. So I went to work for the school systems. I wanted something where I could be home in the summers. My background is in the medical field, but I hadn't worked for probably 5 to 7 years in the medical field. And I really did not want to go back. So I went back to work, but I thought I really liked the dyeing. And I've always been such a fun, I've always enjoyed fiber art. So I started playing with dyes again. And the colors and the techniques were so different than when we had dabbled. And I thought, he's here with me, helping me with all of these colors. And so I started dabbling with that. Well, then COVID hit, and the schools were shut down, and I thought, okay, I'm going to sink or swim. I'm going to either take this up a notch, or I'm just going to work in the school systems the rest of my life. So I had a lot of time then when the schools were shut down. So I started dyeing a lot. I started sending out skeins of yarns to yarn stores, started talking to yarn stores, started doing trunk shows. And so for about 1.5 years, no, I take that back, probably about 6 months, I was able to do it full time. And then when the schools opened up again, I went back to work, and that lasted about a week. And I thought, I am going to do this. So I took the leap and quit my job, and I have been dyeing full time. It's been my supporting business for, since fall of 2020.
Wow.
And it's been so busy. I have a little over a year ago, I hired a part-time employee to help me with the dyeing. I do trunk shows all over the United States. I don't attend those because it's not feasible. I like to attend trunk shows, but it's just not feasible for me to go back to Virginia for a couple of weeks for a trunk show. Or I do. Last year, I was the featured dyer for the Chicago Yarn Crawl, so that was exciting. So yeah, so I've been doing it full time now for a good 2 years.
Yeah, and when I was living over on the west side of the state, she would come to my local shop, which I consider my local shop. you were at Stilly River.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of other who have gone to live here in Washington and Idaho. You go into Idaho as well?
I do go, I've done some in northern Idaho. I've done some in the Boise, Napa area.
Okay.
I haven't ventured into Oregon yet, but that is on my radar for this year. I'm getting a slow start. I was supposed to have a shoulder joint replacement in about 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and that got canceled. So I wasn't booking a lot because of the recovery of that. That's been postponed till summertime. So I'm filling up quickly with trunk shows, and like I say, looking to go into Oregon. But anybody that's listening, if you have a favorite LYS you'd like to see me at, put it in the chats, and I'll reach out to the owners.
Well, I do have a couple of shop people here that follow me. I know Kelly's here. She's you're in Dakota, no, Minnesota. I can't remember now. But she works for a shop, and then I have a shop owner that pops in every once in a while. So
Yeah,
if she's not here live, she'll probably watch the replay. So for sure,
I do Minnesota. I do Kate, Harriet and Alice in Edina, Minnesota.
Okay.
I've done shows, and they do carry my yarns there. So, but yeah,
Okay,
I'd love
so you
that.
do wholesale on top of it all.
I do wholesale, yes.
Okay, because I know that's right, Kelly.
Yeah.
Because I know my friend Karen, who's another crochet designer, was in Fargo, and she went to Kelly's shop, and I couldn't remember if it was the Dakotas or if it was Minnesota. So yeah, Minnesota. She just popped in with Minnesota.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about how you learned, what inspires your colorways. I know your husband does a lot of the inspiration, I'm sure, but
so I have a couple different ways of coming up with new colorways. Like I said earlier, my background was in medicine, not color theory. So that has been a real learning process for me. Sometimes I will take a photo and do a color from a photo. If I can show something right now, sorry for the crinkle. I do have some monthly clubs in my shop, and one of my monthly clubs is a Broadway musicals club, and it's a monthly subscription. And so I will take a playbill cover from a Broadway musical, and I will dye the yarn inspired by that. So this was December's. Of course, where's the camera? How the Grinch Sold Christmas. So here is the yarn that I have done off of the playbill. So I do, like I say, I do photo inspiration. Another one of my fun yarns is called Oil Slick. And so I just imagined what an oil slick looked like on a parking lot. And so I tried to dye the colors to match that. Sometimes I'll just start playing with colors and then trying to find something that reminds me of. I have this one here. I loved playing with these colors.
Oh, that's so
coming
pretty.
up with a name. I call this one Sexy Cowboy because it's got the blue jeans, it's got the red from the bandana, it's got the brown from the dirt.
Oh, I like that.
So it's, yeah. And I would imagine majority of the time I start with the colorway and then trying to find a name that matches. And I try to find fun names.
You have some great names.
Yeah. Smells Like a Goat. I did a couple years ago, I did the whole Hocus Pocus Halloween Advent. So I Smell Children. What a Pretty Spider. Cat's Got My Tongue. So a lot of the Hocus Pocus theme stuff.
Yeah, I just put your website up so people can go and see some of the names and the colorways of your yarns.
And just remember that I am a yarn dyer. I am not a photographer. So I always try to put that disclaimer out. And it's, colors, I try to get as good a representation as I can, but sometimes it's hard.
Yeah. No, it's even as a designer, I mean, it's hard. That's why I have a professional photographer who does all my photography, because I don't know what I need to do to make things right and color, so I just let the professionals do that. So, even when I'm posting on Instagram, I'm going, oh, is this going to turn out or not? So
Yeah,
I
I
understand that
know. Yeah.
completely. I totally understand that. Okay, so tell us a little bit about, not, you don't have to give us any secrets or anything, but kind of what your dye process is, like how you schedule colors or shows, or do you dye, have a schedule of different colors, or do you bases, or that kind of thing?
So I am not a dye to order shop. I like to have a large inventory to draw from. I have a big room in my basement that has grid wall all the way around the walls. And I like to keep it fairly stocked. When somebody places an order, I like to be able to have it already done. So ideally, we dye to keep that stocked.
Okay.
But on an average month, I may be doing 4 or 5 trunk shows. And so I may have yarn in, Virginia, and yarn in Chicago, and, yarn all over. So that is our goal, is to have everything dyed. So when we start, I do dye usually about 3 days a week. I usually dye Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And we kick out sometimes upwards of 600 skeins a week when we dye. So we do a lot of dyeing. I have a great setup in my garage with its own electrical panel, and so I can kick out quite a bit. So I do have somewhat of a schedule. I mean, when going into the day, I know what our plan is for that day, what we're going to dye. I think I'm up to 11 bases in my shop now. I just added a new base, which this sweater is done out of, and this is a DK.
You on by yourself. Hang on, I'm going to put you on screen. Put that up close to the camera again so people can see it.
This is the Bayswater sweater, but this is a merino, yak, and silk in a DK weight. And I wish you guys could reach through the camera and touch it. It's as soft as butter. So this is a new base for us, but I have a couple lace weights, four fingering weights, a sport, a couple DKs, and then both a superwash, a non-superwash worsted. So yeah, I do have a variety of bases. And then back to how I dye. I have several different dye techniques that we do. We do pours, we do speckles, we do dips.
You do dips. I thought you might do dips with some of the things. Yeah.
Dips. So yeah, just a variety of different ways that we dye.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah. And I saw, for those of you who may not follow her on Instagram, I'll put her Instagram up too. Right now, I'm thinking about it. She just posted about her merino yak silk base on Instagram. So you really want to check out that one too. In fact, I might be ordering some of that.
I just uploaded it to the shop yesterday, so it is ready to go. And I think I have I have 9 colors in there. Okay. And currently am just doing tonals. I also have a yak and a fingering, and I just do tonals in that. I love the yak has a darker base to start with, so the depth of color that you get is pretty cool.
I have worked with yak before, and it's amazing the difference in, 2 different skeins together.
I'm doing a yak color work sweater right now in the fingering. Oops, I got it. So yeah, the yak just has such a great, it's just a great base. It's a light yarn, but it's super warm.
Yes, it is. And that's what I like about it. Yak is that it is super, super warm. And I did a shawl in fingering weight years ago in a yak that had it was supposed to be like a Valentine red was the name of, I can't remember the colorway name now anymore, but that darkness of the yak made it this beautiful, almost vintage Valentine red. It's so pretty.
Right.
If anybody has my book, A Garden of Shawls, it's the enchantment shawl. You can see that's yak yarn, and you can see how deep and rich the colors turn out. Oh my gosh. So what do you have a favorite base?
Oh, that's like asking if I have a favorite child.
Yeah.
So it depends on the hour of the day, the
Yeah.
day of the week. Do I have a favorite base? I don't. I have some that I'm not I'm not as fond of as others. I have a mohair silk and a seri alpaca silk. I love the way the mohair silk looks and dyes up, but I can't wear it. I'm very sensitive, so it's a little too prickly. So, but I love the suri, you know. So of the two of those, I would say the suri is more my favorite because I can wear it and it's like cloud.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think. I think if I had a no, I don't have a favorite. You
You
know, like
don't
I
have a
say, every
favorite.
time I come up with, if I'm dyeing my sport weight and I'm liking the way it's taken the dye, I'm thinking, okay, I need to cast on another sport weight sweater.
Yeah.
But I don't have a favorite. I think it's whatever I'm working with at that time.
So do you have a colorway that maybe has been a favorite of yours or your client base over the years? One that maybe is started with and is still in your system or in your
Yeah, so Sexy Cowboy is one that started with. I also have, and I don't have a skein with me, Midwest Sunset is a very popular. That was from a photo that a friend of mine was flying over the Midwest at sunset and took a picture and put it on his Instagram. And I immediately dyed up a skein of yarn. That has been a very popular one. So those have been with me. You know, a few of my yarn colors have been with me, but I have some that are more fun to dye than others. Llamas and Drag is a fun colorway. It's like little llamas that want to be alpacas. And that one has several layers of color. And so that's a fun one to dye up. But some days I just have the headspace to just do tonals.
yeah.
You know, it just kind of depends.
Well, you got to have a little bit of everything. That's true. Because I mean, if you were dyeing always the same colors and always
Right.
the same way, you'd get bored.
You get bored.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know customers like to see new colors. The problem with changing colors a lot is I try to do samples in a lot of my yarn because everybody wants to see how yarn works up. It's pretty in the skein, but how does it work up? Does it pool? Does it stripe? You know, what does it do? So I try to do samples in a lot of colors. So when I change colors, it's like, oh, I got to start all over. So this year I'm currently working on a whole bunch of new samples. My last year's holiday advent was based on Schitt's Creek. So I have 25 new Schitt's Creek's colors that I put into the shop. And so I'm frantically trying to work up some of those samples and stuff. So when I do the trunk shows, I can have plenty of samples.
Samples, yeah.
And then when I send out for trunk shows, I always send out a lot of samples too. So I have to have a lot of samples that I can, you know, spread them out.
Yes, yes. So I know you brought some stuff to do show and tell with. So I'm just going to give you the floor and talk about what you've got with you so that people can see,
Sure,
you know, your yarns, your bases. And I'm going to put you on solo so they can get a bigger picture of everything. So definitely go for it.
So the first one I'm going to show is actually one of Karen's designs, and she knit this for me. This was, I think when I first met Karen a couple of years ago, she picked out this yarn to knit it. And this is the Whimsy shawl, I'm sorry, to crochet it. So this is the Whimsy shawl that she has crocheted. This is a fingering weight shawl. The colors in this, the blue is my cerulean base, my cerulean color. The variegated is a discontinued color. That is Aurora Borealis. But at some point in the future, that will make an appearance back in the shop. But this is one of Karen's designs, which I absolutely love.
And just because in my pattern, it's called Boy Blue. Is that what it's called?
Bad Boy Blue.
Bad Boy Blue. So she changed the name so you guys know that if you're looking for it.
Yeah, it's cerulean in the shop. Another one of Karen's, I saw Karen last summer at Fiber Fusion, and when she's got all these gorgeous crocheted samples in her booth, it's like, oh, I want to make that, I want to make that, I want to make that. So one of them that she had was Into the Deep Cowl. And so I did this out of one of my gradient mini skein sets. And this is done on a fingering weight. I don't have this colorway in the shop right now. I'm constantly adding and taking away, but I do have 3 kits of that pattern in my shop. So in the kit, it's the Into the Deep Cowl. It includes the pattern. On the patterns, there's a Ravelry download code, so you can put it in your Ravelry library. Comes with the yarn. And I'm going to crinkle for a minute and find where one opens up.
It's actually my website, not Ravelry.
Oh, I'm sorry, the website.
Yes.
Okay, I can't find the, and I'm not going to open it up, but in each kit, I have 2 in a denim fade, and this one is a teal fade. So these.
Oh, that's pretty. Oh, that would be gorgeous. I love that too.
So that makes up this Into the Deep Cowl. So, and this was a really fun pattern, Karen. I really liked it.
It's a lot of fun. I want to make another one now too, now that I'm seeing it in your colors.
Some other samples I have. So this is a new sample I've done. This is one of my Schitt's Creek's collections. This is Town Council. This is a free, I got to find out where the camera is. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. This is called the Lattice Stitch Cowl, a really fun double thick. I'm not going to tell you how it's made, but it is a free pattern. So this is Town Council, and this is done up on my Razzle Dazzle base. So it does have a little bit of a silver stellina through it, so a little bit of bling.
Love that colorway. Oh, that's gorgeous.
Another new one is the blue is Town Council. That's another one of my, I'm sorry, the last one was Town Council. This one is Cafe Tropical. So the blue is that. The red is Cabernet.
Oh, that's pretty too.
So this is the Summertide shawl.
Very pretty.
And then another kit that I have in my shop is, this is kind of black, right? This is the, let's see if I can get a good detail. The the Cargill Cowl by Crochet Knits. And it's got this really gorgeous drop stitch. So I do have kits for these in the shop. This is a skein of fingering and a skein of Surrey held double.
I was going to ask you if that was either the mohair or the Surrey.
That's the Surrey, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty.
And then another monthly club that I do is I'm going to crinkle, I apologize, the Color Explosion Minis Club. And that is a monthly subscription. So every month I dye up 6 mini skeins, all exclusive colorways. And these are on my 80-20 base. So it's a
so pretty.
80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 20 grams. So about 80 yards. So every month you get 3 new colors. So that's a fun, if you like to do mini skeins, if you like to do, I have a scrappy crocheted blanket that I do my mini skeins in. Really fun. This is And this is part of my Schitt's Creek collection. This is Schitt's Creek, the colorway Schitt's Creek. And I can show you how that knits up. I am doing a sock. Still on the needles.
Oh, I like that.
So it's kind of micro striping. So that's the Schitt's Creek. And I don't know how well the colors are coming across. It looks a little gray, but it's more of a blues and greens.
Okay.
And then these are just some more of my new, the new yak DK. This is the aqua. This is the color that I am wearing in my sweater. This one is eggplant. So it's just a really deep, rich.
That's gorgeous.
Purple. Flamingo.
Oh,
So this is how a light pink comes across on the yak. So it's got some depth of color to it. And then
I like the tonality in that one too. It's just gorgeous.
And then whiskey. Whiskey is a very popular colorway in my shop. It's on the yak, it's nice and dark, but on my merino yarns, it has such different depths of tone.
That's really pretty.
That is whiskey. Yeah. So that's what I brought for show and tell. Oh, and then there's a cat making the cameo appearance. Always have to have the cat cameo in the window.
Yeah, so pretty kitty. Okay, so tell us a little bit. You mentioned that you have the musicals club and you have the minis club. Do you have any other clubs?
I have a Friends, the Friends monthly club, which is those are dyed. I will pick a scene or a saying out of the iconic Friends show.
Yeah.
And we'll dye up a skein. December's was Christmas armadillo. I've done, I don't remember what I did last month. I have it over there, but I can't remember. But just, I'll pick a saying from Friends and do that. And that's currently all the clubs I have going. I've had, I did a Princess Bride sock club. I've done a Discovery of Witches club.
Okay. Do you do like the Advents that some people do?
I do Halloween Advent. Last year's theme was Hocus Pocus 2. And Halloween Advent is a 14-day, 20-gram mini skein, and then you get a full skein of yarn. I actually have the full skein. I'm just going to step over here and grab it from last year's. This was the full skein. On the 15th day, you get a full skein. So this was last year's full skein of yarn. And then I also do a holiday advent. And so this year it was Schitt's Creek theme. So you get 24 mini skeins. You get a full skein for day 25. This last year I did a collaboration with Joanna from Stitch in the High Notes, who's a beautiful bag maker. And so she did bags with pictures of David's sweaters on them. Oh, and cool. Then and there was a pattern included this year in the Advent. And then I always, of course, throw in all the extra goodies and stuff. So Advents are a lot of work because you have to come up with all new colorways and then packaging them up and thinking of what extra goodies you're going to do. And when I'm all done and the last box goes out, it's like, oh, never doing that again. Well, I've already got my themes going for this year. It's like childbirth, never doing that again. And then, I think I'll have another child. So, so I really do like doing Advents. This year I did, I can run and get it if you talk amongst yourself for a minute. I'll show you what I did with this year's Advent. Okay.
Yeah, no, I will. I'll come back on screen here while she's grabbing that. I just saw that a couple questions came up. I just want to remind everybody too that if you have questions for me or for or you want me to ask Nancy, put them in the chat, type the letter Q and then a space and then ask your question. I just saw Judy came up with one. Could some of the patterns she mentioned be listed in the description afterwards? And the color names maybe. Yes. So Nancy, if you can hear me still.
I hear you. Yeah.
I just saw that you came back. So let's oops, hang on. Let me put you back on. We'll get the names of those patterns that you showed I mean, I know mine, but we can so that way I can post them on the show notes afterwards.
So
okay,
this was what I made out of last year's Christmas Advent. This is called Anthology Throw. It's huge.
I was gonna say,
but it's just so yeah. I love doing mini skein projects. So that was last year's Advent.
So pretty. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I just thought I would, we still have about a little under 30 minutes to go. So anybody have questions or want to ask about colorways? Anything you guys want to talk about with Nancy about her colors or anything? I'm going to have you guys put them in the chat. I just think you've got some gorgeous colors. In fact, Stephanie says that throw is amazing.
It was a lot. I'm not going to lie. It was a lot of work. I don't know how many stitches were on the end, but I love it. And you can wear it. You can fold it in half and wear it as a shawl, like a pie shawl. I actually keep it on the foot of my bed. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was going to say that would be a gorgeous shawl or put it.
I love doing mini skein projects. I've done, like I said, I've got the granny stripe crochet blanket that is actually done. It's still attached to a ball of yarn, but it's done. And I have it draped over a chair or a love seat in my sitting room. Yeah. So mini skein projects are fun.
Yeah. I love mini skeins too. Yes. I've been doing, there's a couple dyers that I've been working with that do mini skein advents. I mean, all year long, every month they have it's just kind of fun to be able to for me as a designer to come up with ideas to use these little small different colorways that it's so yeah.
And I usually
me though looking at all the ones you've done. So
yeah, I usually have I'm pretty low with mini skeins in my shop right now. I usually try to keep a good variety of tonal sets and variegated sets and gradient sets. But I had a sale, I think, just before surgery. My surgery before it was scheduled, and it pretty much cleaned out the shop. So I'm slowly working on getting more mini skein sets into the shop.
So are your mini skeins on just a single base, or what bases do you carry your minis on?
Currently they're on my fingering base, which is an 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. I am kicking around the idea for my holiday advent of offering it also on a DK mini. And I probably will do that. That's probably will be offered. I'm not quite sure yet. This is what, February? Yeah. Usually about April, I will start listing the Halloween advents, and then shortly after the Christmas advents. And I know that that's early, but I just need a lot of planning time, especially during my, during my busy season, to be able to plan out the colors I want to do and give it good justice. So
yeah, no,
I start, because it is a lot of work. I know last year, I think I ended up dyeing around 3,000 mini skeins, and to come up with different colors and then to get them packaged and come up with names. And so
that's why you need the extra help too.
Yeah, yeah. I know when I was doing this by myself, it was a lot of work. And of course, bringing in a part-time employee, I was able to ramp up the business at least, 50% more. So I was able to do more work by just having that help. So
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've got a couple questions that came in.
great.
Liz asks, can you talk about your single ply yarns? Are you discontinuing this?
I am discontinuing the single ply. I like the single ply. It just didn't seem to sell very well. So I do have in my sales section, I have what single ply yarns I have left, and they're on sale for $15 a skein. So be sure and check out the sales section because and I think there may or may not be a surprise at the end of this video, which would be nice to apply to the sales section. So basically, I end up paying you to get the yarn. So not to say that I may not bring it back in the future. I just needed to lay it down for a while.
I have a lot of followers, and Liz is one of them, who are in the Florida area, that whole area. And they like the finer, the lighter weight yarns. So the single plies are popular, and I have a lot of customers who ask me if single ply will work with my patterns and things like that. So
right, and mine was a 70-30 merino silk, so great for shawls. It had such a great drape for shawls and summer tees. But I just found that it wasn't selling, and I'd had it in the shop since day one, and I think it's nice to rotate stuff.
Yes, you have to keep up with those current too. So yeah. Okay, so next question is from Judy. Would you consider doing Advent minis on a sparkle?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, I would. Yeah. In fact, the first year I did Advents, I interchanged, so I threw in some sparkle minis, but I would absolutely, I could do that as an offer for my Advents. I like sparkle yarn. I like the little bit of funness and
me too.
So
I know a lot of my people love the sparkles, so the bling, got to have a little bling. Liz said that the silk merino is a great blend. So
yes,
for your anybody else,
like I say, I have a few skeins left in the shop. So
yeah. Is there anything else you want to tell us about while I'm waiting for questions to come in?
Let's see. What else can I tell you? I'm looking like there's a question that's going to pop out of my display over there. I do offer, I'm going to throw this out. I do offer a cranking service on my website for those of you that are knitters or that knit maybe just a little bit, but like knitted socks. So I offer a cranking service where I will crank the yarn, and it's a fingering weight yarn. I'm not set up to do DK weight yarns, but I will crank the yarn into a sock tube, and then you can just do, and I can grab a sock tube if you would like to see what I'm talking about. Let me grab one.
That's a great service that I've noticed that some dyers have been doing that, but a lot of shops have been doing that too lately.
Right. So this is a sock tube. So this is a 64 stitch sock tube that I have cranked out on I have a sock knitting machine. So it's just a long tube, and the stitches at the ends are live. So they're just kind of sitting there. And so there's a lot of great tutorials for how to do, it's called Afterthought Everything. So you would pick up the stitches and do your cuff, and then you would measure down how long you want your leg to be. And then you put in, you pick up stitches. Say if my leg was going to be here, I would pick up stitches and cut my knitting almost like steeking to do an afterthought heel. And then you go down and you figure out how long you want your foot to be. And on these tutorials on YouTube, there's a lot of information on how to figure out how long to do. But you would pick up your stitches again, cut it, and do a toe. And then you've got live stitches again. So you just repeat the process. So for people that maybe like to wear hand knit socks, but think they're boring to do, you can do a pair of socks in a weekend by doing that. So that is also a service that I offer on the website. I have gift cards. I do gift cards. And a little tip that I don't tell a lot of people: if you maybe want to purchase something from the shop but don't know exactly what you want, and if you follow me on Instagram, I occasionally will do a sale. You can purchase a gift card on sale. And
Oh, that's good to know.
and then you can go back at a later date and use that gift card.
Oh,
So
very cool.
so that's kind of a little unknown secret tip that I don't want anybody to tell anybody.
So
So this is between us friends.
So Kelly, she's the one who works for the shop in Minnesota. How do you run? This is Trunk Shows. She had her autocorrect do a little. But how do you run your trunk shows? So I'm assuming she wants to talk to her yarn shop owner. So
yeah. So how I run trunk shows, if it's like in Minnesota where I wouldn't be there, I would send yarn and samples out, and depending on the owner and I usually talk, I will send anywhere from 200 skeins to 500-600 skeins, depending on what the owner wants. The trunk shows usually run a minimum of a week when I send them out. And so, like I said, I send lots of yarn, lots of samples, and then the store will sell the yarn, and there's a percentage that the store keeps from what they sell. And then lots of times the stores will purchase some of the yarn that's left over to carry in the shop. So
yeah.
But yeah, if you're interested, if Kelly, I don't know if you were a yarn store owner or just a customer, but you can yeah. Oh, an employee. Yeah. You can follow me on Instagram and, private message me, and I would love to talk to you and your shop owner. I can certainly send out a sample skein of yarn so that you guys can play with it and look at it. And yeah, that would be great.
Awesome. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put up another banner here because you've already alluded to it. But Nancy has been so kind to give us 25% off your order at her shop, in her shop, using the code livestream25. But you've got to order by February 15th, which is a week from today, to get that discount. So I'm going to put that up there for a little bit.
Yeah, and that is on everything. That is on gift cards. That is on monthly subscriptions. So the first month of your monthly subscription would be at 25% off. I very, very rarely do that on subscriptions. That is good on sale items. So I don't know, 25% off $15. You guys can do the math. It's like I say, I am almost paying you. Yeah, so that's a great. And I'm pretty sure, I will double check when this was over. I'm pretty sure I included everything, but I will double check to make sure. And that is a one-time. That is a one-time code per person.
So make sure you got everything you want in your cart before you check out. So
yes. And like I said, I usually, most everything, I mean, if I don't have something in the shop that you've ordered, tomorrow is a dye day. I already have a list of things going that I need to dye. It will get out to you possibly on Saturday, if not the first of the week. And going back to dyeing, dyeing is the easiest part, is the absolute easiest part of the job. You would be surprised. Dyeing is such a physical job. We're handling big tubs of wet yarn. We dye the yarn, and then we have to wash every skein. I'm always worrying about yarn bleeding. I try really hard to make sure that's not. I do put a little note in with orders on darker yarns because they are hand dyed, and sometimes there is a little bit of bleeding, but I make sure I try to get most of the bleeding done by the acids that I put in when I dye. But then we have to wash the yarns. I have a big spin dryer that spins them. We hang them to dry. If you could see my living room right now, I have 6 racks of yarns from yesterday, and then we have to twist them, and then we have to label them, and then I have to put them on the website, and so it's a very physical job, but honestly, it's the best job I've ever had. My boss, that would be me, is hard to work with at times. I very seldom will she give me a day off, but it's probably one of the
I
best.
get that too. I have one of those bosses.
You have a boss like that too. I know. I can never take sick day because it just doesn't work.
Right. Oh, I know. It's so hard when you are down, and oh yeah.
Yeah. And that's why, when I was going to have surgery, you schedule all this time out, and then so now my surgery is scheduled for June. So I'm going to make sure I'm good and set and, well stocked. And like I say, fortunately, I do have someone that works for me that will keep things flowing while I'm one-handed.
Okay. I'm going to have to come up and see your whole setup because that's just really cool.
I would like it if you did. And then you can pick out yarns for your next project. For your next sample, you can design another garment out of Trilogy Yarns.
Well, yeah, I would love to. In fact, I want to talk to you about that. I'm working, and the people who've been around for a while know I'm working on a book right now, but all the samples will be done by the end of April. So I'm going to be looking for projects to do. So yeah. So anybody else have any questions that they'd like to ask Nancy? You've been in shops all over the country, so I'm assuming you've said Chicago, Virginia. I know here in Washington State and Idaho. Where else?
I'm going to be going to Tennessee. What are some new ones? Tennessee. Oh, I don't. Yeah. There's a shop in New York that I've been talking to, and it's really fun when I talk to a new shop owner. It's like I introduce myself, and then I always say, "Have you heard of Trilogy Yarns?" And sometimes they say yes. I have a podcaster in England that has used my yarn and talks about the yarns. I sent a lot of yarn out to podcasters when I started dyeing. And so, and that's how the word got out there.
Well, Debbie wants you to come to Arizona.
I would love to come to Arizona today. I am tired of
Well, Debbie, if you have a shop there that might be interested, let them know about Nancy's yarns.
Yeah.
For sure. And so everybody who's here who knows, I have a super secret project that I can't show to anybody that'll be coming out in May with her yarn as well. So be watching for that. I don't know if I'm going to be releasing it to the public then, but it will be seen. So be watching for that too. Okay. Well, I guess in Texas too.
Texas. All right. Yes.
Actually, I will recommend if you ever want to do another show to vend at, and Stephanie will do this. Second me on this. There's a show called the Dallas Fort Worth Fiber Fest.
Oh yeah, yes.
Every September, they have an amazing show. I've taught there twice already, and honestly, if you ever want to do another vendor show, that would be the one I recommend.
Yeah, that's a commitment.
It is.
It requires renting a U-Haul, hiring an employee the whole time, and driving. I think it's what, 3-4 days to drive to
Yeah,
Texas. It's a pretty big commitment. I mean, this year I
ever decide that.
What's that?
If you ever decide to do it, I would
that
recommend it.
That would be great. But
that's a great show. And Linda, what color should I buy?
I would say one of each usually works.
Linda, you buy the colors that you love. I mean, that's what I tell everybody. You know, because I design in certain colors all the time, like blues are my colors. And I'm trying, you know, I have hot pink going right now, but and
that is tough as a dyer. I know my color palette. Oranges are not a color I wear, but I love, you know, so I try to come up with colors that I don't wear. Oranges, you know, and some yellows I don't wear, but I've got some really pretty orange and yellow yarns that are good.
Yeah. So Stephanie's going to talk to a couple LYSs.
Excellent. Yeah. And like I say, Stephanie, follow me on Instagram, so then we can just kind of private message that.
I'm going to put that banner back up so that people can
find you. It's Trilogy Yarns. It's pretty easy to find.
Yeah. Let's see. One of each sounds reasonable to me. Yep. And llama and drag, yes. I've been looking at that skein ever since you first posted it. And you just posted it not too long ago again, I think.
I may have, because I just dyed up a big batch of llamas and drag last week.
It's so pretty.
It is fun.
So pretty.
And llamas and drag on my sparkle yarn, which is my Razzle Dazzle base, is really fun.
I bet. I bet. Okay.
And then if you're not comfortable wearing bright sparkly colors around your face, socks. Karen was telling me about her crocheted socks. You know, you can always, all I ever wear is handmade socks. I haven't worn a pair of store-bought socks for years. And I don't do patterned, true disclaimer, I don't do patterned, but I let the yarn speak. And I just, you know, you can get some really fun socks going.
Yes. And for those of you who are questioning whether or not Stellina will be itchy on your feet, I can attest I have very many socks with Stellina, and I both knit and crocheted socks, and it does not bother me one way or the other.
Yeah, I've got a sweater with it. It's not a hard scratchy fiber.
Okay, we got another question here. Where are you located? I think Debbie popped in late. So
I'm in Spokane, Washington. So in the Northwest, about 2.5 hours from Karen. So.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Well, okay. So I'm going to then, I guess we can just go ahead and sign off for today. I'm so glad you were here. I'm going to put that banner up one more time. I will put this in the show notes as well. For the coupon code. Remember, it expires next Wednesday, so a week from today. And I will put that in the show notes as well. And for those who asked about the samples, I will make sure Nancy hangs on for a second so I can write down all the names and find the links to those patterns for you. So hang tight. But Nancy, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Karen, and thanks everybody for the great questions and for watching.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you were able to do this. I was going to contact you later in the year because I knew you were going to be having surgery. So I'm glad this worked out for us earlier in the year. So
yes, me too.
Yeah. So hang tight. I'll be back in just a few minutes. So,
all right. Bye, everyone.
Oh, wrong button. There we go. Okay, everybody. So I'm so glad you were here. For those of you who are watching after the fact, the coupon code is good until next Wednesday. And I'm so glad you were here. And if you have any more questions, even after the fact, you can go ahead and post them below this video. And I will make sure I can get them to Nancy if Nancy doesn't see them on her own. So I hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for being here. I will be back on the, let's see, today's the 8th, so the 22nd for our monthly chat, live stream chat. So I hope you'll join me on the 22nd. I have a lot of things to share, so I'll see you then. Have a great day. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Bye, y'all.